The summer sun beat down on his shoulders as Marcus Johnson, a worn-out man in his mid-30s, pushed open the tall glass doors of Jefferson State Bank. His hands clutched a neat folder. Inside were years of dreams, late nights of planning, and a simple request: a small loan to start a trucking business. Marcus was no stranger to hardship. His shoes had holes, his shirt was faded, but his eyes carried the fire of a man who refused to give up. He approached the desk with hope, but across from him sat a sharply dressed loan officer who didn't even glance at his paperwork. Instead, he looked Marcus up and down and smirked. "Men like you don't get loans here." The words cut deeper than a blade. Marcus froze. It wasn't his credit score. It wasn't his business plan. It was the color of his skin. He walked out, shoulders heavy, the rejection letter crumpled in his fist. But what that officer didn't know was this: rejection wasn't the end of Marcus's story. It was the beginning of a fire so strong it would one day burn down the walls of that very bank. Marcus returned home to his small apartment on the edge of town. His wife, Angela, saw the pain in his eyes before he said a word. Their two children, Maya and Jordan, played on the floor, unaware that their father's dream had just been crushed. Angela whispered, "Marcus, we'll find another way." That night, while his family slept, Marcus stared at the ceiling. His father's words echoed, "They can deny you money, son, but don't ever let them deny your worth." Instead of giving in to despair, Marcus doubled his hustle. He took on every job he could find, fixing cars, hauling scrap metal, even working nights as a janitor. Every dollar, every dime went into a secret box under his bed. Years passed. The box grew heavier, so did his calloused hands. Marcus studied finance books from the library, learning the rules of the very system that once shut its doors on him. He invested small amounts in used trucks, repairing and selling them for profit. Slowly, his dream fleet began to form. Angela stood by his side through it all, often sacrificing meals so their children could eat. One day, Marcus told her, "Our kids will never know the hunger we knew." His reputation grew. Soon, small business owners in his community began to trust Marcus. When their cars broke down or they needed deliveries, Marcus was the man they called. But he wasn't just running a business, he was lifting others with him. He hired young men fresh out of prison, single mothers desperate for work, and teenagers looking for a chance. While Jefferson State Bank refused him, Marcus became the banker for his community. He gave second chances, not rejection letters. 10 years later, Marcus was no longer the man who had walked out of that bank with nothing but humiliation. He was the owner of Johnson Logistics, a company with dozens of trucks across 3 states. One evening, as he scanned the newspaper, a headline caught his eye: "Jefferson State Bank faces bankruptcy after scandal." Marcus froze. The same bank that had once told him he wasn't good enough was crumbling. Its bad loans, corruption, and mismanagement had left it gasping for survival. For a moment, Marcus thought of turning the page and moving on, but then he remembered that day, the smirk, the words, the humiliation. Instead of revenge, he saw an opportunity. With Angela by his side, Marcus made an offer. It shocked the town, but within weeks he was sitting in the chairman's office, signing the papers. Marcus Johnson, the man once denied for being black, was now the owner of Jefferson State Bank. The news spread like wildfire. Cameras flashed. Reporters swarmed. "How does it feel?" one shouted. Marcus looked into the lens and said calmly, "It feels like justice, not for me, but for everyone who was told they didn't belong." Inside the bank, the the same polished marble floors he once walked on, as a poor man now echoed under his confident steps. Employees who had once ignored him now rushed to shake his hand. But Marcus had no interest in humiliating anyone. He had something greater in mind. He called a meeting. Local families, small business owners, and struggling farmers filled the bank's lobby. Marcus stood before them and declared, "This bank belongs to the people now. If you've been denied because of who you are, those days are over. From today forward, Jefferson State Bank will stand for fairness, opportunity, and dignity." And tears filled the eyes of mothers who had been turned away, of men who had been humiliated, of dreamers who had once been told no. That moment wasn't about Marcus buying a building. It was about him rewriting the rules of the game, turning a place of rejection into a beacon of hope. Years later, Marcus's story became a legend told in classrooms, churches, and homes across the state. Children who had once gone hungry now grew up seeing their father as a symbol of perseverance. His son Jordan became a lawyer fighting for economic justice. His daughter Maya became a banker at her father's institution, helping families secure the loans that her father was once denied. Angela, the woman who never let him quit, stood proudly as the first lady of a bank that had changed thousands of lives. And Marcus? He never forgot where it began. The day he walked into a bank in torn clothes, only to be told he wasn't worthy. He often told young dreamers, "Don't let rejection define you. Let it refine you." The same doors that once closed in his face were now open to everyone, proving that sometimes the greatest act of kindness isn't just rising above injustice, but lifting others with you when you finally win.